Hey guys, how we doing tonight? Today I decided I'm going to make some osso bucco because it's cold. For those of you who don't know, osso bucco is a braised either veal or pork shank and it's simmered in like a tomato vegetable broth. So I just wanted to give you the rundown of how I've always made it, and I've had good luck with it, so hopefully you can as well at home. So I start off, this is the pork shank. I just season them in salt and pepper. Simple. And for us, since we're in a gluten-free house, I'm just gonna rub them with cornstarch and put them on a plate, and then we're gonna sear them afterwards. So this will just help thicken our final sauce once it cooks. So nothing fancy. We'll season them after we get done with the first sear. So make sure you cover all sides because we're going to try to brown all that once we start our dish. Alright, so once you get them all floured up, you can use flour, you can use cornstarch, you can use gluten-free flour if you'd like. Anything that's going to thicken the sauce up, help it brown. Alright, so I'm going to bring those over to the Dutch oven on the stove, which I've been preheating. Start with a little olive oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. Don't be scared of it, but we're also not trying to deep fry. So I had this pan warming up for the last couple of minutes, so it should be nice and warm. I'll turn it up just a little bit because the temp will drop once I add the shanks into it. So the trick with this part is just to work in batches so you don't overcrowd the pan, cool it off, and then you don't get a proper sear. So I'm going to do 2 batches of 3. If it looks like it's not enough oil, don't be afraid to add another swirl or 2 around the outside. At this point, if you were making it at home, I already chopped everything prior, but you could dice up your mirepoix at this point: onion, carrot, celery, rough chop, depending on however size you want the final product to be. I like a nice fine chop on everything so it incorporates in the sauce better when I eat the final product. So I already did that, but you could be chopping that up at this point. Like I said, 1 onion, 1 large carrot, and a couple stalks of celery is all that took. We're also going to need some chopped tomatoes. We're going to need some tomato juice and some red wine, some chicken stock. That's about it. Alright, so we're going to just fast forward through the art of cinema. All the shanks are seared now on all 4 sides. You can hit the sides on the pan like so to get the whole thing. Because we're using cornstarch, it's not going to really brown as well as it would if you were using a traditional wheat flour. But, so there's the shanks all seared up. Next, we're going to add the mirepoix into the pan that you just seared all the shanks in. Then we're going to turn the heat down just a touch. Allow these to caramelize. We're going to add a little tomato paste, and that's how we're going to develop the flavor for the osso bucco we're getting with. Aromatics will come into play a little bit, but for now, just get the celery, onion, carrot. Get it going in the pan. Turn the heat up just a tad. So to help with the browning, I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste into the pan. I'm going to let that cook with all the pan drippings that are already in there. And that's just going to develop a real rich flavor to this braise. It's one of these dishes that's going to take the whole day kind of to put together. I mean, we have probably 2 hours of oven time. So it's definitely something that it's not a, you know, school night meal, but for the weekend, especially when it's cold out, for me, can't beat it. All right, so mirepoix browning in the pan. We're gonna season it with a couple tablespoons of you want a pizza meat, because it's a all-purpose Italian seasoning and it's gonna work great for this. It has, you know, tomato, bell pepper, onions, garlic, basil, oregano. I would have been putting it all in there anyway, so don't be scared of it. Low on salt, so I'm really using that for more of the herbal aspect, the aromatics that we're gonna get out of this braise. So now, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of red wine to deglaze the pan. Basically what that's gonna do is release all the cornstarch and everything, all the pork drippings, vegetable browning from the bottom of the pan. And start to form a sauce for us to cook this pork in. A little red wine. Turn the heat up a little bit. You'll see it's already starting to get thick. Form a nice gravy, and that's from all the cornstarch that we seared onto the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to add to this San Marzano tomatoes, just crushed them by hand. Reserve the juice, as I'm going to add that later to adjust the viscosity of the sauce. Tomatoes are in. It already smells good. All right. Some herbage. Bay leaf. Thyme. That's gonna come out of there later. I'm not fussy about it. Now, the seared shanks, we're gonna arrange around the Dutch oven. And then we're getting closer to be able to put this baby in the oven. Put this little one in the middle. This one in. Nice. All right, so now I have a little bit of chicken broth, about a cup. It's going in. Cover. Like I said, I'm going to reserve the tomato juice for later, for when we finish the sauce. But give it a little jiggle. Incorporate the stock into the sauce that we have made. Lid's going to go on this. We're going to braise it in a 350-degree oven for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we'll check back with you after that. So right now, lid's getting on it. And we'll see you in a couple hours. So now we're gonna make some instant polenta because it's Saturday and we don't feel like cooking much. So I pop it in the pan. I'm just gonna add a little broth. And you basically just mash this. I'm gonna use a whisk, attempt to at least. And just slowly break it apart, incorporating into the liquid. That'll eventually make a creamy polenta. So just bear with me, it'll work. And this just takes a couple steps out of getting the cornmeal, getting your stock warm, getting cream and everything else put together. I mean, we're still gonna put some cream in this because we have some in the fridge, but when you prepare this stuff right, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just gotta be patient and work it out. Just add a little bit more broth as it goes. We're using chicken stock here. We made this the other day, but you could use vegetable stock or water even. You can always put Parmesan into it, saffron, really do whatever you'd like. This is just going to be a really basic creamy polenta. It works really well with the osso bucco, which we're about to take out of the oven. Alright, so now we've whipped this up for a couple minutes, and it takes a significantly more broth than I imagined it would originally, so don't be afraid of the stock as you're adding it, because it's just going to continue to absorb it as it cooks. So I might just do one more splash too, just so you can see. And then we're going to put the cream in it. But polenta is one of those things where it just like, you can constantly just keep adding liquid to it, let it cook, add liquid, let it cook, and it just keeps reducing and thickening naturally. So if you finished it and you walked away and were doing something else and it came back and it was super thick, you always just add a little bit more liquid to it and it comes right back to where you want it. And this is looking pretty good too. So, not bad. I mean, this is pretty quick. What was that, 5 minutes? That's kind of where I want it right here. I'm not going to salt it or anything yet. This is just chicken stock we made and some cream. So, that's going to be good for that osso bucco. So now we're going to just let that chill while we take the other stuff out of the oven. Okay, so get the pork out. We gave it another hour. It took all of 2.5 hours at 350. But it's looking pretty nice. So we're gonna, this has gotta chill out a little bit. But basically we're gonna get all these pork shanks out of here. And then we're gonna just finish the sauce up. See what it looks like, and then they go back in there, and then pretty much over the polenta, and that's it. I get a plate. This bowl here. So I'll pull these out. Just be careful because they're super tender at this point, but they smell good. Hurting on a few of them. Might be one of those things though where you can't find it at your local grocery store. These I had to get from a butcher. So pork shanks is all you're looking for. Hocks, not quite the same thing, not really what you're going to want to use. But any sort of specialty meat market should carry them. If not, just ask them. They didn't stock these, and I gave him 48 hours notice he was able to get them for me, so no big deal. Okay, I don't want to fall apart. But it's pretty good. Alright, so these can chill. Those aren't going anywhere. Here's a little scrap bowl here. Alright, so got a little scrap bowl. I'm gonna get the bay leaf and the thyme stems now that they've all basically broken down. Got everything out of them we wanted to. Just don't want to gnaw on that stem while we're eating dinner. So that's coming out. This is looking really nice. Alright, so I'm probably just gonna try to get a little bit of this grease out of there. Just ladle right in the corner of the Dutch oven. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of it. I was thinking about having to thicken this, but I like where it's at right now. If anything, I'm probably just gonna run a little bit of it into the Vitamix, smooth it out. That's pretty much it. Alright, so I am going to take a few ladles of this sauce with all the mirepoix roasted veggies out of it, and I'm going to hit it in the Vitamix for a second, and that's what I'm going to use to thicken this gravy up the last bit. So just like, you know, cup and a half. Do that there. Nothing crazy. If you have the Vitamix, great. If not, any sort of blender, hand blender, even will be fine. Just enough to where you're not messing around with making any sort of roux or thickening agents or anything. You just use what was in there to do it. Dump it back in there. That's it. Look at that. So we're gonna just plate this up. Alright. A little salt, a little black pepper in the polenta. Taste the sauce as well. I already did. I hit it with a little splash of salt, but nothing crazy. Yep, that's good. Alright, so we're just gonna grab a bowl. Get after it. So I mean the total cook was 3 hours probably to get where we need to be. But definitely something for a weekend night, special occasion, dinner party. It's really hands off for the majority of the time. It's roasting in the oven. And you know, the finished product is just, it's classic. So give it a shot, and I hope you liked it. Well, that's it right there. I mean, it doesn't suck.